your mind.
Good evening and welcome. You have Open Your Mind Radio. You have myself, Alan James.
And you have myself, Stephen George.
Sorry.
What the hell was that?
My head was in a different place, you know. It was a
That's not what you normally say.
last minute thing. Good evening and welcome to Open Your Mind.
Changing the script.
Good evening and welcome to Open Your Mind Internet Radio. It's Sunday the 31st of March and I hope you're all having a very good Easter because we are. We got our Easter eggs today, didn't we, Steve?
No.
No? Okay.
Not a one.
Not one.
However, thanks to having kids, you can, you know.
You can nick the old
Absolutely.
bit of Easter egg, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for everybody tuning in, and I hope you actually got your clocks sorted out, and you put your clocks back for people that are living in Western Europe, because obviously the clocks went back, and we are now forward. So, hopefully you haven't made a mistake.
The clocks went back.
Sorry, the clocks went forward. Shall we just start that again?
Hi, welcome. This is Open Your Mind. The clocks went back, so I hope you put them forward. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, they went forward 1 hour. Good evening, anyway. Right, okay. Let's get on with the communication channels, shall we?
Communication channels are as follow: info@oymireland.com for your emails during the show and during the week if you have anything you want to pass on to us. We also have the chat facility on the website as well. If you're listening on one of the streams on either TNS, it will say hi to everyone on TNS, or if you're listening on the UWS stream and you want to join in the chat on the chat box, you can go to oymireland.com, and on the top left hand corner of the page you will see click here for a live chat. You can log in there and you can pose questions for our guest this evening, and you can also put in some comments as well, whatever tiddles your fancy. And if you want to give us a shout on the landline, you can do that by
give us a call on 046 927 1212.
04692711212. If you're ringing in from outside Republic of Ireland, it's 00353 in front of that. Alan,
are you sure about that? Are you sure you want to pass it back over to me?
No, I don't actually.
I will say, on my defence, it was a mad rush. It was a last minute thing, setting up everything, getting it ready before the show went live, so my head's all over the place, so apologies for that. Anyway, we were planning to have Max Egon on the show tonight, but unfortunately Max has relocated and his time zone has changed, which means that if we did call him, it'd be 4 a.m. in the morning in Australia, and I don't think Max would be too happy with us calling him.
You could imagine the abuse we would get.
So we did have a chat with Max earlier on, and basically earlier on this morning, which is evening time over there, and we're going to do a pre-record and get Max on. But we do have a great guest on, a chap called Gordon Haskell. Gordon has been involved with a band, if you're old enough like myself and Steve, a band called King Crimson. And he's been involved in the music business for about 49 years. And we're going to be talking about the sinister things going on in the music business and his experience of what he came across during that time, and probably still going on now. So we'll be getting Gordon in a few minutes. But we just have a few things to talk about first, as usual. So Steve, you can take number one if you want.
Yes, number one. This is an issue that we spoke about last week, about the Meath East by-election that was coming up, and there were several candidates from several of the popular parties. There was Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Labour, there was Sinn Féin, Workers' Party, and also DDI, Direct Democracy Ireland. We were watching that kind of with a close eye during the week. I think that happened on Wednesday. It was Wednesday, wasn't it? It was Wednesday.
It was Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah. The polls opened on Wednesday morning, an hour later than normal, and they closed an hour earlier. That seemed it was down to financial reasons. Yeah. Well, but maybe it was. I don't know. But yeah, the shoe in for the seat, I think we all kind of knew was Helen McEntee, yeah, daughter of Shane McEntee. I don't know who came second actually, but DDI Ben Gilroy and team came in ahead of the Labour candidate, which was kind of surprising. And seemingly Mr. Gilmore, of the head of the Labour Party, he had a couple of words to say about that. I think he actually referred to. This is kind of second-hand information. I cannot verify this. I heard it from my father actually. and seemingly Mr. Gilmore said that Ben Gilroy was kind of in there as a plant, and he was really only in there to kind of upset the apple cart. And Mr. Gilmore, he really didn't have any faith in DDI, and I think he was completely against them. But we actually heard that some candidates gave up after 10 minutes after the abuse that some people gave them on the doorstep while they were actually out canvassing. And from what we heard from Ben and DDI, they actually they were kind of turned away at some of the doors, but a lot of people were very receptive to what they had to say, and also to the idea of direct democracy in this country, based on what has happened in other countries. What's the country it's in at the moment? I can't think of the name. There we go. See, there we go. Drawing a blank again. Switzerland, the Swiss chocolate. There we go. Yeah. But yeah, he came in. He done bad. He didn't do bad at all. Sorry. He done good. He didn't do bad. He done good for a party that was only launched just before Christmas. So they have been in existence. December, January, February, March, 3 months in total. So they really didn't have a lot of time to recruit people, but they put on a brave face. They went forward. They put a name forward for the Mead East by-election without having a lot of time to prepare, and they came in ahead of the party who was in coalition with the government today. So well done to DDI. Obviously, we sit on the fence here, but we will say, it wouldn't matter who got in. As it happened to be Helen McEntee, so we'll also say congratulations to Helen McEntee. Probably a well-deserved. I'm sure she's a very nice lady, and will do her utmost for her constituents in the capacity that she has been elected into, and fair play to her. But also congratulations to everyone who took part, and especially to DDI. As we say, a brand new party, only launched 3 months, and they done fairly well. So yeah, kudos to them.
Good stuff. Okay, just a quick update on if you're ordering bumper stickers. Basically, can everyone please make sure that when you put your address details in, that you actually put your full address details in, because there's been a couple of people who have ordered bumper stickers and they haven't put in the full address, and we've had to confirm that with them. So just be careful. Just make sure that when you fill all the fields and you put all the information in. Otherwise, if you send them out, you're not going to get them. Okay? So I know that's quite obvious, but unfortunately it has happened. And we've had to double check addresses before we send them out with people. So if you can just make sure that you put in your full address and fill all the fields in. And if you have any problems, by all means get in touch with us and let us know, and then we'll sort it out from there. You want to talk about yesterday's?
If you have any problems, get in touch with us. Any problem about filling in your details?
Yeah.
Not any problems in general.
No.
You don't want Mary ringing. Mary, me tap is leaking.
Well, not that kind of service.
Oh, well, hang on a second. Maybe we are.
Do you have the time, do you?
No, I don't actually. I don't have the energy either.
Right, we're going to talk about yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah, we went to the meeting yesterday in Trim, County Meath. attackthetax.com, and we went down there. Meeting started at 11 and went on till, it was supposed to be going on till 1 p.m, but it actually went over, and I think we all knew it was going to go over. But we went down. There was the room was kitted out for a couple of hundred people, and when we went in, I'd say a rough guess would there be about 60 people there.
I'd say there's about 100 people there.
Well, when we went in first.
Oh, yeah. When we went in first, yeah, but more people
before the meeting started, and when I went in and looked around, I kind of went, oh no, don't tell me this is it. But over the next, we sat down, we were kind of conversing amongst ourselves, and we did actually we seen a few friendly faces that we recognised down there, so we went up, had a little bit of a meet and greet. We then kind of sit down, speaking amongst ourselves, and the room, to our surprise, it started to fill up, and I was kind of happy to see that happening. By the time the meeting started and got into full swing, I'd say the most seats in the room, and it was in the Great Hall in the Trim Castle Hotel, not the good hall, the Great Hall, and I'd see all the seats were almost full. There wasn't many empty seats. Meeting was very good. Fair play to the lads. They kind of they obviously Alan and I and other people that were there would have been kind of clued in and knew exactly what was happening and kind of going on, and the way things kind of are working at the moment in the government, and also with the banking system. Although sometimes the way I speak, you wouldn't think I do anything at all. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, we kind of the lads kicked off the meeting. They kind of gave a basic introduction, and it was really like a dummy's guide to the whole banking system. They start kind of educating people, baby steps, and they over the 2 hours they brought them up to speed. They didn't delve too much into the heavy stuff, but they did say to people, if you wanted to, maybe do some research, they kind of pointed them in the direction of where they could go to get more information and do their own research. And they actually kind of expected people to have done their groundwork. I mean, the whole thing about the property tax, and the household charge, the acts. They did ask for a show of hands how many people had read these acts. They didn't get many hands going up, and they said, there's a lot of politicians as well that haven't read these acts. They're just happy enough to push it and force it on the people because their party or their party whip says so. So they're kind of happy to do that. So they said if you were to get the property tax and the household charge acts and the statutory instruments as well, read up on them, you'll be miles and streets ahead of other people, including some politicians. But they say they kind of started the meeting, went through the baby steps, brought people up to today, had a bit of a Q&A at the end. There was a lot of interesting questions from the floor. Some people were there, and you just knew by them. Sometimes you go along to these meetings and you see the kind of it's the same old faces, so you're kind of preaching to the converted. But there was a lot of people there in the audience, and they had kind of layman's questions, if you like, people who were just disillusioned with the whole system, and they were kind of just throwing the hand up and blurting out some questions. And I know there's no such thing as a silly question, but some of the questions did kind of seem a little bit, silly-ish. But thanks to the lads professionally gave a good answer, and they kind of brought the meeting to the close, handed out some leaflets. A lot of people did actually go up. They explained what they were trying to do with the SPV, Special Purpose Vehicle, and taking the government on board. They had a couple of live cases that they spoke about, and they just basically put it to people, if you want to be part of this, we're not forcing anyone, we're not putting a gun to anyone's head, we're not threatening anyone. There's all the information. If you want to be part of what we're doing, at no risk to you, your family or your home, give us your name, register with us, and I think it was €2, you became a shareholder in the SPV that they're putting together. And by the end of the meeting, they had a lot of people. There was a queue. I mean, we went up and we were talking to some of the lads afterwards, and we had to kind of cut our kind of conversation short because there was a big queue behind us of people wanting to sign up and be part of this. So yeah, that was a good meeting yesterday.
Exactly, and we had Colin on the show a few weeks ago talking about Attack the Tax. So if you didn't catch that interview, you can go to archives and you can download or listen to the podcast with Colin talking about the whole process. And he talks about it more in depth if you want to catch up on that. The other thing that we have on the list here, now I don't know about you guys, but during the week, you just kind of, when you're going around doing your normal shopping and all that kind of stuff, and something that we mentioned last week was about everybody seems to be in kind of a zombie state or Groundhog Day because of everything that's going on and everybody suffering from the system, and, it just seems that everybody just... we're just surviving. We're not living, we're just surviving. And I don't know how our listeners feel if they're doing the same thing. But, I was just looking around during the week, when you go shopping and stuff like that. And people are just kind of, it's just, they're in a different world. Completely in a different world. And every day seems to be near enough get up and, how am I going to survive today? What bills are going to come in today? What things are going to happen today? Because for me, anyway, Steve will tell you, the last 4 weeks has been a bloody nightmare. Anything that could break has broken. And, sometimes you have to knuckle down and fix it yourself. Or you have to pay out and, when you don't have the money to pay for it, what you do, you have to rob Peter to pay Paul. And I don't know how everybody else feels about it, but that's the way things have been.
And if anyone has any leaky pipes that they want fixed, give Alan a shout because he's now an amateur plumber.
Yeah, I also do sewerage as well.
Yeah. I do, yeah.
There's a new hero in town. We talked about it last week. But anyway, how's your week, Steve?
My week's been good. The usual mix of fun and frolics. More frolics than fun. I have a couple of pieces of text scribbled down on a piece of paper that I just wanted to mention. One was about chemtrails, it's amazing because we were kind of coming back from the meeting yesterday, and I just mentioned to Alan that I hadn't actually seen chemtrails in a couple of days, and he said to me, "Oh, well, don't speak too soon." And there I was, sitting at home last night, just having a conversation with my father, and looks out the window, and what did I see? Not one, not two, not three, but 4 beautiful chemtrails. So I went out with the camera, and I took a lovely picture. So I did kind of speak too soon. So the back and forth. What else was I going to speak of? I was going to speak of games consoles. I seen something during the week. Of course, I didn't note where I seen it, but something on the internet, more than likely on Facebook, that there's some new games console. I'm not sure if it's one of the more popular ones, like the Xbox or. Do you know what? I don't play games, so I don't play games. So I don't know what console it was. But they're saying that this new games console has this a camera on it, and you cannot actually. You can hook it up, but you won't play the console until you actually let it register. You have to register online, and you have to have an internet connection, or it won't work. Seemingly, now I don't know how true that is. I didn't really look into it because it's not my area of interest really. So I don't know if anyone else has any interest or information on what console it was. But a games console that's kind of constantly spying on you as you're playing it. I don't know how interested I would be in that.
But it's not the new Xbox, isn't that what?
Is it? Is that what it is?
The new Xbox is going to be, if you don't accept some agreement with Microsoft, it won't activate the actual games console. So they can spy on you.
So you knew about this already?
Well, I've seen it in the papers.
You didn't say it. You let me rabbit on there, and you could have just cut me off and says, "Yeah, listen, I'll tell you all about that."
No.
Play to you.
Yeah, somebody has to talk about it.
They do. What else was I going to speak of? I was actually. This is another one as well. The dangers of Wi-Fi. There's reams and reams and reams of information, and loads of pages and websites giving out all the dangers. And so we have reports here from Barry Trower. We also got a report in from Walter Graham. And I have to admit, the one that Barry sent us over, it's very technical, and you know, there's a lot of information that you'd probably need a degree just to understand it. But the one that we got from Walter, it's very, very easy to read, and it's kind of like a dummy's guide to the dangers of Wi-Fi. And I just thought it was beautiful. It's well put together. It's kind of short. It's very concise, and I'm always whenever I get the option, I'll try and educate people and just I'll plant a seed. I'm not saying what I say is right, but I will always plant a seed and say, here, what do you think of that? Let other people do what they want with it. Let them come back to me and tell me I'm wrong, or then we can have a debate about it. But planted a seed with a colleague of mine there a couple of weeks back in relation to Wi-Fi. Mainly because he was saying he has his Wi-Fi on at home and it's great, and he was just he was giving me all the pros of Wi-Fi, and I said, yeah, I totally agree. I agree to everyone he said, but I said, well, what about the cons? He wasn't aware of any of the cons, so I just I educated him verbally. Then I actually asked Alan would he forward me on the report from Walter to my work email, which he did. I printed it out, and when my colleague read it, he was kind of gobsmacked because it was there, it was in print, and there was references, there was names, there was letters after these names of people who had a lot of experience, and he had a different opinion. By the time we finished work actually that day when you sent me the report, he left work saying, I just want to go home. He said, I want to go home and switch off that Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And I says, why don't you? He says, because the kids are going mad. And I says, well, would you rather than go mad, be angry with you for a while, or would you rather cook them slowly and damage them with untested technology? And he said, I know. He said, I've read what you've given me. He said, it all makes perfect sense. I don't know much about radio, he says, but what I see here, it makes perfect sense. And I do want to go home and switch it off. And I says, well, I'm not telling you what to do, but it's best that you can see both sides of the coin and make an informed decision rather than just see one side.
Well, you know what I do, Steve? I have one of these cheap Vodafone smartphones. I actually have the video I did of Walter down the house with his detector. So when people say to me about Wi-Fi, I go, here, have a look at this. And I explain to them who Walter is, the device he has and what he's doing. And they can hear the bup, 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 which is the Wi-Fi noise, like a woodpecker sound. Yeah. And when they can hear it, and once they see it, but when they can hear it, and I say, that's your Wi-Fi. cooking you at 2.4 gigahertz.
Yeah.
The same as a microwave cooks me. You know, and they can't deny, you can't turn around and go, well, I don't believe, well, they can say, I don't believe it, but then you have to say, well, that's the proof I have, I can show you more information,
but
you know.
Whether people believe it or not, once you've presented them with the information, your job is done. You can walk away in you know, happily knowing that you've educated another human being, you've shown them the other side of a coin, so to speak, and once they have the other side of the coin, then they can make a decision. If they want to leave their Wi-Fi on, that's fine.
Yeah.
But they cannot come then and say, well, no one ever told me.
Yeah. But
your conscience is clear.
Can't unlearn something.
I said it during the week as well. I said it to someone. I said, you cannot unlearn something. Once you've been told, that's it, you know.
That's it.
Unless of course you get Alzheimer's.
That's it. And one of the chaps here, Peaceful, on the TNF chat facility, and I agree with you there, Peaceful, that the new 3D smart TVs will also be a way that they can spy on you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be watching a movie on a Friday night or a Saturday night with your darling beloved, unplug that TV. Just in case.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll have to see what level they can spy at.
Yeah. Last thing on my little notes here is there was a documentary. No, sorry, well, not a documentary, but there was a couple of articles in Hot Press magazine. I think there's been 2 articles so far in 2 different episodes. Not episodes. What do you call them? 2 different Hot Press magazines. Issues. There you go.
Bless you.
And it starts. The jokes are starting. But there was 2 issues of Hot Press magazine, 2 separate issues, covered fluoride, and kudos again to Aisling Fitzgibbon and Steve Kerr for all they're doing on the Girl Against Fluoride campaign, and everyone else who's behind them as well. But it's got to a stage now whereby anyone who's not in Ireland, well, if you're in Ireland you may have seen this, if you're not, you probably haven't. But they actually, for the first time ever, fluoride and the issue and the dangers was covered on RTE. That's the national broadcaster over here. RTE, and I know Mick is on there. I can't remember what Mick calls RTE with his anagram for RTE. But
really terrible entertainment, was it?
No, there was something
like that.
Rothschild's something. I don't know. Anyway, they covered the issue. They had the journalist who wrote the article for Hot Press. They had her on, and another chap. Now, the other guy, I'm not too sure who he was. I think he may have been a male model. Don't know. He's a good-looking fella. I mean, even if I do say so myself, and I don't swing that way, but he was a good-looking bloke. Maybe he was a lead singer of a band. I really don't know. But the 2 people who were interviewing him on RTE, they gave them enough airtime. They let them make their point, and the journalist Adrian, she gave all the information. The interviewer then asked her, yeah, but you're probably one of these fluoride protesters, and she said no. In fact, before the issue was dropped in my lap, she said, I always thought fluoride was good, because that's what we've been told. She then asked, the interviewer asked the chap next to her, what's your take on it? He says, well, I wasn't aware of anything in relation to fluoride at all, he says, until a couple of days ago. I started looking into it, I looked into what both sides were saying, and he said, I've come to the conclusion what Adrian, the journalist for Hot Press, what she's saying is correct. So, again, the 2 interviewers on RTE specified, we're not saying it's dangerous, and don't start quoting us, you know, it was kind of a real nervous kind of a thing, but I think RTE, they were obviously told to say that, and, you know, fair, but they covered it, and I think at the end of the day they covered it, and they're not going to cover it unless, well, I know, you know, they try to cover these things, and then if you cover it, then you can start to control it. But I don't think Aisling and Steve and everyone behind the Girl Against Fluoride, they won't be controlled. They're out on their own, and they're leaps and bounds ahead of anything that RTE are doing. So all I can say is fair play to RTE for covering it. I never thought they would, considering the Joe Duffy show has shied away from that issue for such a long time. And I know because we had a conversation with Aisling a couple of weeks back, and she and Steve have contacted the Joe Duffy show here in Ireland on numerous occasions, but they just won't cover the issue. So it's about time RTE have started to show some cojones. I was going to say balls, but I can't say that.
Leroy D,
there you go. Yeah, so fair play. Let's just say, let's see where it goes from here. Maybe there might be some more, but we'll keep you posted anyway. That's about it. That's my week in a nutshell. How was your week?
Okay, well, not too bad. Just a few things I'm just going to mention before we get Gordon in. Obviously, everybody has heard about Cyprus, and this 60% if you have over 100,000, they're going to take 60%. I mean, talk about daylight robbery. And we can see the riots and the Troika going in there because they have to do this to get the fund from the Troika to actually pay services and everything else. Exactly what happened to us. Okay, they didn't go into our bank accounts, but apparently there are people saying, and I don't know how true this is, that Cyprus is a test bed for the rest of the European countries, and they're going to come in and do the same thing. So, and the trouble is, you know, you can take your money out, sticking it under the mattress. I don't know. Is that going to be beneficial? Probably not, because they'll devalue the currency. And the fact that if you put it in a different savings account, if the savings you're getting, the percentage is, you know, very low, then you're not going to be making money on that anyway. So I'd be watching out for that. Now, myself and Steve, I think we can both agree that we don't actually have any money in the banks, because
I've got about a fiver.
Yeah, very little. I mean, it just gets all spent, you know. And according to statistics that the credit union says, people have €50 at the end of the month after they spend everything. Well, I disagree with that. I don't think they have less than that. You know.
Can I just interject there, my learned colleague?
Go ahead.
What was that figure? 82%. What? One of the figures actually mentioned at the meeting yesterday, which there was a big kind of a gasp in the room. They figured that through the research that they've done, but if on an average person earning €500 per week, the amount spent in taxes, just taxes and VAT and all this, is 82% of your wage.
Yeah,
that's phenomenal.
And
I just thought I'd throw that one in.
And they want to go up to 92%.
Yeah. They really they don't want you to have any life at all.
No. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, zombie time, Excuse me, I have a little bit of a tickle in my throat. Okay, now, just out of interest, I don't know whether people have seen this. There's a thing on Facebook, a new Facebook page being set up called Era Bank has started. And it's owned by shareholders. And if you go to Facebook and type Era Bank, EIRE Bank, I had a look at it. It's basically similar to time banking. And basically you're given a certain amount of credit, and you can use that credit to, as for services and products and everything else. I don't know, it's only the early stages, but pop over and see what you think anyway. Era Bank is called on Facebook, and see what you think. Give us your feedback. And the other thing I noticed on Facebook as well, and I don't know whether our listeners have seen this, but Facebook are beginning to place crap adverts in between the comments made by people who are your friends. So you'd be going along the list, and all of a sudden these adverts would come up, be on your list, that you didn't ask for, but they're just turning up on the list. And I'm just hiding all of them when they come through. So if anybody knows a better way to get rid of them and stop them happening, like clicking a button that says, stop bloody annoying me with adverts.
Stop using Facebook.
Yeah.
Did you see an ad, there was something during the week actually about, I don't know if I sent it to you, I meant it, if I didn't I do apologise, I'll try and find it. Someone has set up something, it's like Facebook, but it's not. It's kind of a different version of Facebook, and it's set up for people, the likes of us, and say our listeners, people who they're not interested in what people are having for breakfast, and they're not interested in where you're going shopping or where you are. They're just interested in educating other people and spreading news and information. But there was another site set up, and I actually checked it out. I can't remember the name of it unless someone else might know. But it was it looked like Facebook, but it wasn't. Then again, of course, the question has to be asked: who's behind that? I think this kind of spawned out of because Facebook were starting to censor. You may have seen during the week, some people are putting up posts and links to videos, and they're getting removed. Yeah. So Facebook they're kind of going down the censorship road. Well, we need a kind of sovereign book. Something like that. Ooh, Sovereign Book. Sovereign Book. Register that name, quick. Sovereign Book would be quite good. Okay, we're going to bring in our guest now. And apologies for keeping him waiting. Yeah, apologies for keeping Gordon waiting, but we have a lot to talk about as usual. Okay, our guest on tonight is a chap called Gordon Haskell. Now, Gordon played with a band called King Crimson, and has been involved in the music business for about 49 years. And, for people who don't know the music business, it is controlled and you are manipulated, and certain things do happen in the background. So this conversation we're going to have tonight has really got to do with the sinister things going on in the music business and what happens. And we're going to bring Gordon in because Gordon has had first-hand experience at dealing with these people. So we're going to go into detail about that. But good evening, Gordon. How are you doing?
I'm right here. Yeah, I'm having a drink.
Good man, great stuff. Gordon, thanks a lot for coming on. We know it's kind of short notice for you, and it's the Easter holiday weekend, and a lot of people are probably off doing their thing, but we do appreciate you coming on. We had planned to have you on anyway, as you know. We've just moved the interview a bit forward, which is a good thing. Now, what we're going to be doing is obviously what we talked about just before we went live in the show, is about the music business and your experiences and your knowledge. And if anything, it's going to help educate people who are involved in the music business, or at least planning or looking to get involved in the music business, because I'm sure there's all X Factor wannabes out there who think that it's very glamorous and it's brilliant and all this kind of stuff. But there's a lot in the background. But before we do that, do you want to give us just a heads up on your musical background and what you were involved in first before we go down the road?
Well, I'll work backwards because of people's memories. 10 years ago, I had a big record called How Wonderful You Are. It came in at number 2 in the British charts and the Irish charts. And it was followed by an album that came in at number 2. So that was 2001, 2002, and then the next album came out the same year, and that got to 44. We'd moved away from the corporate thing of Warner's. Moving right back 20 years, there was the King Crimson thing, and before that was my own band, the Fleur de Lis, that got an album out tomorrow. The first album we ever released. So we can talk about recent events, or we can talk about how I've seen it change from 66, when I made my first record, through to present time, to today, really. Today, you know, I read the news today, and I'd like to talk about that too.
Yeah, okay. Well, you shoot away. You have a chat about just, you know, talk about the bits you want to talk about, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay. Well, in the 80s, when the corporates moved in and started to take over with merger after merger, it was very tough for me because I was the generation before. I was the Beatles generation, and it was like a new movement. So you had the punk thing come in, and out with the old, in with the new. So in the 80s, I was kind of obliged to learn how to play on my own as a one guitar, one man band, and I got rather good at it, I must admit. I did about 18 years doing bars and clubs, and not being in the music business really, but it was a great training ground, and I was a witness to things like the Smiths and the punk thing, and then the next generation sort of pushing us out, if you like, the Beatles. The thing about the Beatles was, the Beatles really annoyed these people that now control everything, because they couldn't control the Beatles. The Beatles were so global. They were globalists before the globalists. They were so successful, and they did it with peace and love, if you like. So that was really an anathema to the sort of cretins that are now in power and thought they were in power when the Beatles were around. So something had to be done about the Beatles. So the Beatles had their success and broke up, right? That was about 69, yeah?
Yeah.
And so in comes the next movement. By this time, the corporate said, right, we've got to put a stop to this. This is anti-materialism. This is people being nice to each other, et cetera, et cetera. And if you look at the Beatles' work, they're still selling huge amounts of records. It's because they're human, you know. They're not post-human. They're not psychologically messed up. They were writing great songs. They were kind of innocent, really, but they were very special, and they hit the mark. King Crimson was the exact opposite. And when I joined King Crimson, I saw King Crimson first at the Marquee, and I have to say that I have an instinct. I've always had an instinct, and I've not always taken notice of it, but it's very, very strong. And I'm 67 years old now, and I can honestly say my instinct has been correct. my entire life. If I didn't like Brussels sprouts at 4 years old, it's because I don't like them. I knew why I didn't like them, and I didn't like King Crimson at the Marquee. I sensed a satanic force. And I've read the King Crimson life story, and the drummer said there was a satanic force at work. So my instinct was right, but Robert Fripp and I went to school together. He's the leader of King Crimson, and he knew he could manipulate me. So he thought I'd be a good choice to take Greg Lake's place. And I said no at first. My instinct told me not to do it. And my wife said, well, you know, it's well paid, you know, blah, 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 which it wasn't. And Greg Lake said it's a very good thing to do. And I was weaker in those days. I wasn't sure of myself. And that's the trouble with, if you're a young musician, you've got your instinct, but you're still easily swayed by the right thing to do, the wrong thing to do. Anyway, any musician would have said yes to King Crimson, probably. And I said no, and I was talked into it. And it was absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. It was baloney of the first degree. I knew Fripp at school. He admits he's tone deaf, a musician who's tone deaf. He hasn't got an ounce of rhythm. So, what are you doing being an internationally acclaimed guitarist? What are you doing being an internationally acclaimed group? Now, when you're that age, you're analysing yourself and you're saying, well, you can't say that. It sounds like you're jealous. But when you're 67, believe me, you're not jealous of anybody. Because, for a start, by the time you're 67, you know your own mind. I've got a beautiful life. I've got no reason to be jealous. So you can actually, the last 10 years have brought immense clarity without any doubt whatsoever of what's been going on. And I defy anybody to challenge what I say about my business. Nobody knows it better than me. I've lived it, and it was baloney. And that whole King Crimson thing, it is fascism. It's cold. It's like computer music without feeling. There's no heart and soul in it. It's arrogant, which Nazis are. It employs bullying tactics, which Nazis do. And a thing that Common Purpose, this latest baloney organisation by Julia Middleton, that's another kind of ridiculous con where you get 5 people in a room, which is a band, and you've got your own opinion, but by the end of the session, the leader of the band has talked you round. And that's how Common Purpose works. So the King Crimson model of 1969-1970 was exactly the Julia Middleton model. Now, Julia Middleton and Common Purpose basically are representing the Rothschild kind of Nazi, fascist, Marxist blend of making us all stupid and easily manipulated. And you talk about people going around like zombies. It's not really surprising because they're throwing fear at everybody. And the first thing I advise any musician to do, if you're starting out, I'm 67, you're 21, and you want to be in the music business, first of all, don't be afraid. Do not be manipulated. Don't be intimidated by these people. Imagine these people, they're weasels. They're not men. You know, a man to me is Ernest Hemingway or the image, if you like, of Humphrey Bogart, that image of a man.
But Gordon,
these people wouldn't put up with these weasels
but Gordon,
like Osborne and Blair, and these people are weasels. They're not men. They're cowardly. You know, if they want something nasty doing, they hire a thug. They hire the UN or NATO. That's not a man. If you want to hit somebody, you hit them, like 2 Irish guys in a pub. They sort it out. They don't. The guy in the pub doesn't say, "Oh, hang on a minute, I'll call my people to beat you up." That's what the government does.
Mm. Well, can I just touch base on what you said there? You know, hindsight is a great thing, Gordon, and we both have musical experience. You have a lot more than I do. But when you're young and you're easily influenced and naive to a certain extent, and you want to get on and be famous, you know, it's not as easy to turn around and say no, because they'll just get somebody else in, and you know, you feel, am I doing the right thing if I turn around, you know? And you know that. Can I just ask you though? I mean, if let's say the advice that Gordon just gave, and we said earlier, you can't unlearn something. Yeah. If someone had said that to you back when you were part of a band, if someone had gave you that piece of advice, as you say, you can't unlearn it, would you have carried that around with you? Do you know what I mean? I mean, hindsight is a great thing, but if someone who has the experience can pass it on to someone, and they then know about it.
All right.
Yeah, but
I've got a good answer for that. You look at my history and the way, say, Wikipedia or the King Crimson fans write me up. They say, "Oh, Gordon Haskell, the only singer who never did a gig with the band." I did say that. I said yes for a bit, sussed it out, and said, "You can stuff this up your jacksie. You're a bunch of fascists." And I walked away from fame in 72, and I did it my way. I waited, I studied, I read, I improved, I practiced, and then in 2001, I got a massive hit on my terms. And then they came in and thought, we've got to deal with this guy. But I did do it my way. I did quit. I joined Cliff Richard. I quit Cliff Richard. I joined Van Morrison. I quit Van Morrison. I quit loads of people because I didn't approve. And yes, I had an up and down life. And I had to go and play in a pub, and people would say, "Oh, didn't you used to be with King Crimson? Oh, look at you now." You know, people aren't very nice when you're doing that. But you say, "Well, sod you, you know, I'm picking up 100 quid. What are you earning?"
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just, you know, when you're young and you're involved in the music business and you're a band and you want to get on, and especially when you have a manager. And we talked about this, about the emotion roller coaster. And if all the members of the band are saying, "Look, we have to do this, you know, we have to do this," then, you know, you go along with the flow because you want to make it and you don't want to let the band down. And, you know, you want to get on. And if you don't have a name and you're trying to make a name, well, you have very little power in what you do. And I do, you know, that's just my own feeling based on what I went through.
Well, I've got a suggestion that you if you want to go along with it, know what you're going along with. Keep quiet and wait for your move. In poker, when you play poker, you might be holding a losing hand, and you might be holding a winning hand, and sometimes you lose with a winning hand to make that guy, say in the record company or your manager, think that you're a jerk. And then you get them with a losing hand. What you've got to do is be smarter than these weasels that think they're smart. Because believe me, I read a news item on the BBC today, and I thought, these people really think we're stupid. I'll have to tell you what it was, won't I? It's a report, a quite innocent report, that only the BBC could put on their website. It's an innocent report. It's about a new invention called the microchip that could help you cut obesity. Oh, isn't that nice? They're going to give you a microchip to help you lose weight. And they want us to think that that's an innocent report. That Dr. Professor Chris Tumuzzi and Professor Sir Stephen Bloom of the Imperial College, London, who's been knighted by the Queen, is an innocent man doing wonderful medical work for people who are fat. No, it's not, is it? It's the invention of the microchip. Just gradually put it in your arm, and it's worked for these people that are fat. It's worked for you if you're depressed, or if you're feeling down, because everybody feels a bit down. I tell you what, put this microchip in and you'll feel better. Or it's an extension of the drug culture. So these little stories that appear in the BBC, they think that they're innocent and they print them because they believe me, they wouldn't come out and say we intend to microchip the entire population because there'd be an outcry. So they do it step by step. And this is today's story. It's right down the bottom of the news in a magazine article. But I spotted it and I thought, these people are really stupid. They're not more intelligent than we are. We can outsmart them. So those young boys in a band have got to be in possession of the knowledge, but go along with it until they reach a time when they can squash that weasel easily. You've got to be informed. I mean, take Leonard Cohen's work. It's very good, but it's sort of saying, I've seen the future and it's murder. You know, he tells it like it is. The Beatles, on the other hand, wrote All You Need Is Love. Now, my theory is, which one annoys the fascists the most? Now, the people that are manipulating us, and people in the music business, they want the audience to kind of feel either depressed or alienated or part of some subculture. But when Leonard Cohen writes an album, they think it's cool because it's very dark and it's moody and it's, what a good writer is considered to be good by the music critics, if you like. I like Leonard Cohen, but if I had a choice and if I was starting out, I would write powerful love songs like the Beatles because I know that really winds them up more than anything. They destroyed the Beatles, and you don't destroy Leonard Cohen, you don't destroy Bob Dylan, you don't destroy U2, you don't destroy Oasis, you don't destroy Lady Gaga. You let them do their thing because it kind of helps in their big picture. But the Beatles did not help in their big picture. The Beatles actually messed them up because they were more powerful than anybody on this earth.
I think it's a...
So
yeah,
I would say, go the other way. Go the other way. Kid them along and get your message out to humanity. And hope for the best, really.
Yeah, get the music out there and self-publish and try and be positive. Now, the one thing I want to touch base on, Gordon, is the kids who are watching these talent shows, or like X Factor being the main one, and the emotional roller coaster and what happens to these kids. I mean, you know yourself from experience that these kids are they're a commodity to be used, and if they can you'd be used to make money for the record companies, then brilliant. Emotions and feelings are probably not taken into account, and it can destroy these young people. Do you want to tell us about what you've came across on that side?
Well, the X Factor came in about 4 months after my success, and I remember reading a newspaper article saying, poor Gordon Haskell, he's just made it and he's going to be put in the shadows and on the scrap heap because they got sort of instant number ones every week. So I remember it well. It really kicked off in that time zone. So I didn't pay much attention, but you couldn't not see the tragedy of a young girl singer. I remember one called Michelle. Straight to number one, yeah? Yep.
That was the Scottish girl, was it? She was quite big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the next thing you hear, only a few weeks later, she's in tears in a Glasgow hotel. Well, from my experience, I was 55, 56 at the time. I wasn't in tears, but I was messed up. I was definitely messed up because you're in a whirlwind where, I mean, I did 80 interviews in 1 week. I got calls from the Financial Times. It was a mystery to me. Why all this interest from the City of London? And so these kids, they don't know what they're getting into. They're getting into something very dark. And music's such a beautiful thing. It really is. You know, my Bible, if you like, is a song written by a fairly unknown guy called Eden Arbez. He wrote a song for Nat King Cole called Nature Boy. And all it says is, the greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return. But musically, it's also very good. He said everything that counts in life in 2 minutes. There's nothing more to say than what Eden Arbez said, and the Beatles managed to say it in hundreds of songs, but basically they were saying the same thing over and over again. Now, somebody that does the X Factor has been born into a kind of madness where they weren't blessed with the gradual history of popular music. I was. So when I was 10 years old, we had wonderful children's songs for children. When I was 35 years old, somebody like Tony Blackman said, I'm not playing this music. I'm playing Bucks Fizz with girls in short skirts for 4-year-olds, because the guys that were producing records in the 80s, Waterman, Pete Waterman and Company, Stock Waterman and Aitken, every song they made went on the playlist at Radio 1. And when asked what age group they were aiming at, it was 4 to 11. Now, what self-respecting musician or singer that wants to be on what's it called, X Factor, wants to sing to 4-year-olds? I mean, there's nothing wrong with singing to a 4-year-old, but it's hardly the sort of thing a musician wants to do, is it? Or am I nuts?
Well, there is a relevant point to that, and it's a business.
Right up there.
Yeah, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is something relevant to that, Gordon, and it's from a business point of view. You see, when you, I don't know about yourself, but as you get older, you know, when I was younger, I was buying CDs and records and all that of the new music coming out. You know, the 80s was kind of my era and Steve's era, and we would go out and buy CDs and LPs and what have you. But as you get older, you tend to buy less. So obviously, if you can get in, this is why I've seen it in the music business where they try and get the young kids interested in the music, because they're the ones who will be pester power. They will pester their mums and dads for the record, the CD, the video, the DVD, and for them to buy it for Christmas and all that. And that's where the money is. So even though you as a musician, at the end of the day, I mean, I'm a bit of a purist when it comes to music, but at the end of the day, you know, you make more money selling out and getting young kids to buy your music and write music for that age range, rather than you can be a purist and write music and you make a couple of quid, but you won't make as much as making for a wider audience. So there's a business thing going on there more so than the music.
All I can think about during that conversation was the sort of weasels that work at the BBC. And the sort of weasels that choose the playlist are, they like young boys and young girls. I think it's pretty well documented. I don't think I'm saying anything slanderous.
No, it's in the press.
And that's always been the case since Cliff Richard, going back a long time. England's always been less butch than America. America had Elvis, England had Cliff. Now, I grew up with Cliff and I used to like him, and I carried on liking him till I was about 17, and then I moved on to the Beatles. I don't know that a 4-year-old listening to the Beatles would have. I mean, the thing is about the sort of music that they were making for 4 to 11-year-olds. It didn't get past that. They didn't grow up and say, "Oh, I'm a big Spice Girls fan, and I like to see them mature into really great musicians and great music because I'm their fan. I was their fan at 5 years old. I dressed up like them in a nice little short mini skirt, and all the pervs around me loved it. You know, they loved the Spice Girls selling female power to 8-year-olds. You know, so that you know, all the pervs of the BBC could have a bloody good time. You know. I don't see how that develops into a music audience that is very long-lived.
Well, I don't think it does, Gordon. See, that's the thing. It's like it's the same thing when it comes to what I feel. It's the same when it comes to your own career. If you're like, you know, if you're working in a certain career and you're dealing with employment agencies, very few employment agencies give a toss about your career. You're the one that gives a toss about your career, but they don't. What they want is, I'm going to get you a job, you're working there for 3 months, I get my commission, thank you very much. They're not thinking of, how can I have this guy on the books all the time, because maybe in 2 years' time, they'll be in a different job doing something else. And I think with the music business, it is business. They don't really care, they're not thinking about your longevity. They're saying, right, we have 4 or 5 years with this person. So how can we get the maximum amount of money out of this person, you know, to make the amount of money? And to be honest with you, I don't think they think about your career or the longevity. I think you have to do that. And if you're in a position there to control them to a certain extent, because it is, the music, that's why I kind of get out of it, because the music business is business. And you're on this emotional roller coaster. You know, 1 minute, you know, that's just my own... my own feelings on it.
The real test is, how the hell did I get a hit when I was 55? How the hell did that happen? I'll tell you how it happened. It was that I made the record independently. I took it to a mate of mine called Johnny Walker on Radio 2. I was going out with a girl. He fancied my girlfriend, and the following day he played my record, but was also going behind my back and dating my girlfriend. But he kept playing the record because that way he could see her, because I was with her. So then the public reacted incredibly. The emails came into the BBC, so many, they had to employ another girl on the Terry Wogan show. And they hated me because I had done it despite their system of running the show.
Yeah.
I was on the playlist for 12 weeks, and we could not get that record into one retail shop on the mainland of Britain. Why? Because they have a system. If you haven't got £1 million behind that record, which all record companies boast it takes to break an act, you're not going to be part of the club. They're not going to support your record. You say, well, we're on the playlist. We're getting great emails. I'm getting 300 a week emails from fans that want to buy this record. They love this record. I made this record myself. I wrote it myself. I produced it myself. I sang it myself with great ability because I knew what I was doing. And I also knew what people liked because I've been singing to them for 40 years. So I did it my way, and they tried to stop it. Well, we had an offer from Warner Brothers on December the 9th, after this 12 weeks of people saying, want to buy this record, and Warner's made us an offer. And our manager, the manager, gave the offer, which was a fax, to the Sunday Times before it was signed. And he leaked the story out that they wanted to sign an unknown so-called pub singer, which was a bloody insult because I had a history as long as your arm. But that didn't matter. That was the manager's way of saying it's a good press story. of the, the no-hoper gets a big chance. That was his sort of childish way of handling the situation.
Yeah.
Anyway, doesn't matter. We signed with Warner's. They released the record on December the 19th. We were number 2 on the 20th. That's the demand of a record that was homegrown, made by me. The only reason it was played was because the DJ wanted to screw my girlfriend. And bingo, it was too late. The public had got a hold of it. The public had taken the ball and taken it to the scoreline, and we won. And boy, were they very, very upset with me. And they came to Top of the Pops. I'd done the song. They do it on a Wednesday and it's screened on a Thursday. So I was heading for number 1. We can't have this, they said. We can't have this. Robbie Williams has just signed a £42 million deal with EMI that's being backed by the City of London. Their share prices all over the place. If Robbie Williams isn't number 1, it's going to make us all look stupid. So we've got to get this Gordon Haskell out. So they pulled me off the bloody show. That's the power they got. Little men in weasels in grey suits. The producer of the BBC is complicit. The manager is complicit. Robbie Williams is complicit. Robbie Williams' manager is complicit. And the unidentified guys, who I suspect were from the Tavistock Institute, are also indicated. The thing is, we still did it. We came in at number 2. There was a lot of sympathy, a lot of people saying, oh, you should have been number 1. Then the stories start coming out. I meet somebody, I'm going all over the country doing radio shows. They said, do you know that I went in a record shop and asked for your record, and they said it had sold out, and I pushed them, and it was hidden under the counter. They had it in stock, but they weren't selling it. Now, what kind of control is that? That is psychological control, to manipulate the market.
That's it. It is incredible.
With fake heroes. Fake heroes.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Robbie Williams is a fake.
Well, I'll tell you what, Gordon. We're going to play your song now, because you sent it over to us initially, and I have to say, I like it. I do really like it. It's very laid back and relaxed, and it's the song. The title of the song is "How Wonderful You Are." Is that correct, Gordon?
Yeah, it's about the answers within all of us to beat these weasels. That's what it's about. They like that, didn't they?
Okay, we're going to play your song now, Gordon, and we'll be back after this.
I go out most nights, attracted by the lights, listen to the jazz in Harrisburg, and I know it won't be long before they play that song. Do you know how wonderful you are? It's a sentimental sound, make me wanna fool around with somebody who is wishing on a star. I'll pull my hat down low, go up and say hello. Do you know how wonderful you are? I've always struggled with the art of conversation, and there'll be those for whom the song has no appeal, but I know it works for me, and I'm sure you will agree that it illustrates exactly how I feel. Things can happen fast, some things are built to last. I've seen it all go down in Harrisburg. Though we've only just begun, this show will run and run you know how wonderful you are? Conversation, and there'll be those for whom the song has no appeal, but I know it works for me, and I'm sure you will agree that it illustrates exactly how I feel. Things can happen fast. Some things are built to last. I've seen it all go down Harry's bar. Though we've only just begun, this show will run and run. Do you know how wonderful you are? Do you know how wonderful you are? Do you know how wonderful you are?
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMIreland.com, CNSradio.ning.com and ICRadionetwork.com.
And we're back. That was Gordon Haskell, who happens to be our guest this evening, and how wonderful you are.
Now, you can check this out. If you go onto YouTube and type in Gordon Haskell, you'll actually see the Top the Pops performance that Gordon did in 2001 with this song. As I say, I personally think it's a very nice song. And for anybody who's in a relationship or Mother's Day coming up, what a great song to say how wonderful you are, you know. It's
a good idea, actually.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Very good idea.
You planting the seed there, right?
I'm planting the seed, but I think it's a good idea. Gordon, we're going to go over to, we've received a number of questions in from our people on our chat facility. So we're going to go over to the questions now, and if you want to answer them for our listeners. Steve?
Okay, Gordon, the first question in on our list this evening comes in from Mick. Mick's a long-time listener of the show, and Mick also has his own show at Livy Sound every Monday evening from 9 to 10 p.m. for anyone who wants to tune in to Mick. They're also on the internet as well. Mick was wondering, can you ask your guest, is he aware of the Irish band Azlan, who, in Mick's opinion, were never allowed to make it big outside of Ireland due to the lyrics of their songs? The common theory is that Christie, the lead singer of the band, was on heroin. And Mick also mentions that there's the Rolling Stones, etc. Enough said.
Well, no, I mean, first of all, I'd have to look at the lyrics. But I don't think the heroin would be the reason. They'd use that as a reason in their weaselly way, with their weaselly words, but as you quite rightly point out about the Rolling Stones, etc., etc. No, it's the British, what do you call it? The establishment. They know what they've done to Ireland in the history, and they'll keep doing it. Have they stopped doing it? No, they're just giving it to Europe, and Europe are doing it. Ireland is one of the greatest nations on this earth, like Greece is, where I'm living. They've got soul. In fact, I'd like to see the Irish say, we don't need Britain. We don't need the support of Germany or Britain, any of these kind of messed up people, because we have our own culture, and it's a damn sight more alive than yours is. So I think you should be proud to be Irish. You should be proud of what you write. History shows what you've written is the truth. And you just carry on writing your truth and be proud and not want to impress what are we talking about? We're not talking about the British people. They never get a chance to hear you. But just those little, I mean, you're talking about 6 people sat around a room in Broadcasting House. You know, I mean, they're all pervies, you know. What do they know about music? What do they know about anything? They pretend to be left-wing Marxists. But in actual fact, they're a blend of Marxists and fascists. They're the jackboot. They're horrible people. I have no doubt about that. No doubt whatsoever. And you're better off without them. If you can get your music across to Britain, if you want to, do it live, and maybe you'll find 3 or 4 great independent radio stations. I used to find 3 or 4, you know, out of about 300. Do your thing.
Something like
it's terrible, really, but be proud to be Irish. It's a wonderful country.
I heard an interview by Ronan Keaton there a few years ago, and I remember him saying when they were first set up as a band, and one of these record producers turned around.
Which band was the Boyzone?
Boyzone, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And this record producer turned around and said to Ronan Keaton, "Well, I'm sorry, but you know, I don't think your vocals are good enough. You know, if you can't sort them out, well, then we're just gonna have to get rid of you. You know." And in a very callous way. And of course, Ronan went off and did loads of rehearsals, and you know, history shows that he did sort it out. But he said, fast forward a few years later at a music award ceremony, and he was walking by the table, and this guy was on the table, and this guy obviously had gone off, you know, and left Ronan. You know, I'm not happy with your vocals, and he went off, and then they got signed by another manager or company. Anyway, this guy is at the table, and he said, "Oh, Ronan, hi, I heard you're doing very well with Westlife. We must get together and do something." And basically, Ronan turned around and told him exactly where to stick it, you know. But this is the attitude of some of these people. They turn around and they will insult you in the music business, because you know, Gordon, as well as I do, you'll get a band that have, you know, we'll stick together, we're a band, da-di-da, and a record company will come in and go, "I'll have you and you, I don't want you, you and you." And if anything, they'll actually get rid of the band and keep the singer and just get session musicians in, because it's easier to control one person than control 5 people.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. That even went on in the beginning, you know, in the 60s with session bands like what was it, Edison Lighthouse was such a band, you know, that it was all sessions, so it has gone on, and I was a witness to that. It's all about character at the end of the day. I developed as a singer-songwriter by being on my own and playing in bars all over the world, like Norway, and it was grim, you know, but there were moments of great enjoyment, and you felt yourself getting better. And when you're good, that does provide a kind of springboard, because you're good at your job. Now, these people you're talking about sat in the Brit Awards, for example. I went to the Brit Awards and I insulted everybody. You know, they say, "Well, this is great, isn't it, Gordon, to be at the Brit Awards?" I said, "Well, let me think now. This time last year, I was earning a couple hundred quid a week, and I was listening to my favourite music, and I had some whiskey and coke, and actually, I don't think this is very good in comparison." And, you know, you're supposed to go along with it. You're supposed to say, "Oh, it's great to be at the Brit Awards with all these dickheads," you know.
Yeah.
So I understand where he's coming from. But if you've got the character, first of all, that's something not one of those guys at the BBC have got. Not one has got the backbone. Not one DJ, not even your precious Terry Wogan has got the backbone to have the character to talk about what's real or what's important or what's valuable about humanity. They've all become tarts, really. All of them. And I've got no time for any of them. And because I've got no time for any of them, they can recognise that. You know, I spent 49 years in this game, and I've only got to look at somebody like Cliff Richard, and he looks away. He can't face it. He can't face the truth, because you meet a guy in a pub and you have a eyeball to eyeball conversation. He's a natural, because he does a bit of roofing, or he's a tiler, or he's a bricklayer. He's real. He knows he's good at his job. But these people aren't good at anything. Bankers aren't good at anything. They're good at screwing up. And they've got themselves into these positions where everything's fake. And they can't get laid. So they've got to earn loads and loads of money to make themselves attractive to women. The one thing they hate is somebody who's confident, who can do their job well, especially a musician, because musicians are like on the bottom end of society. You know, no blacks or musicians enter here. You know, and that's how we were treated. So there's always been a prejudice against musicians. You know, you try and get a girlfriend when you got, you know, you're playing in a bar. You know, you'll get a girlfriend for 2 weeks. She'll go off with somebody, a chartered accountant. You know, this is the fact of life. And you get used to it. But it does build character. And when you've got character, you have strength. And you look at these weasels, and they just quiver. Because they've got no basis. They've got no ground. They've got to take a line of coke to feel confident about what they're doing. Because what they're doing, they don't know what they're doing. They're going from one disaster to the next, making a complete balls up of absolutely everything, whether it's the NHS or British Rail or any career move they make. They're flipping hopeless at it. They're flipping hopeless at it. And when you're a good musician and you can sing and you can play and you can turn people on and people love you, you don't have to be arrogant about it. Just know that that's enough. You know, you pick up your 100 quid or 70 quid or 30 quid. Doesn't matter, because you're your own man. You've got the character, and you don't need weasels to dominate you and try to get you to do things that they think is a wise move in business, because businessmen run the world. Now, can you show me one successful business that's doing well? So if businessmen know what they're doing, why have they screwed up?
Well, we know the banks have definitely screwed up. Gordon, we're going to go over to the two other questions that Steve has for you there. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, Gordon, another question in from Mick. Mick's wondering, can we ask Gordon about the frequency of music being changed so it doesn't vibrate with us the way it's intended to?
Well, I talked to you about this briefly the other day, and I've thought about it since, and something dawns on me. Do you remember vinyl?
Yeah.
Okay, why is vinyl warmer? Why do vinyl freaks stick to vinyl? They don't like CDs. I'll tell you why. Because CDs are cold. When you master a record, when you finish recording the song, it goes through the mastering process so that in the old days it would be so the needle didn't jump off, because the tape was so wide it had to be squashed down to a quarter inch, and then it had to be squashed into a groove. So vinyl was always warmer. When they did CDs, they put the sound, what do you call it, the sound pattern on the screen. The editors, the master engineers, and you'll see the peaks and the troughs. And instead of carefully preserving the music, they're lazy, and it's like a big sort of guillotine, chopping off the peaks and chopping off the troughs. And what you end up with is a very cold rendition of what it sounded like in the studio. Now, the clarity is impressive. So what you do is you what the industry's managed to do is fool people into thinking that the sales pitch is the truth, that CDs are better than vinyl. But what's missing is something that goes into a record. Let me take you back to How Wonderful You Are. We recorded it in Oxford live onto tape. What happens, I was a session guy in the 60s. I made loads of recordings, and we often had black producers, and they really did know what they were talking about on this subject, in that you could play a song 3 times, and there would be magic in one of those takes. Magic. You play the same notes, and the singer would sing the same words, but for some reason, and that reason is the magic. So when you hear a great record, and How Wonderful You Are is a great record on this level, there is magic in the grooves. Mm. Now, when you make a lesser record, there is a very competent recording. So for those, you can say all of the X Factor recordings are competent, but there's no soul or magic in any of them. Not one.
I think
because it's been produced in such a way where these clowns have grown up in a world where they wouldn't know magic because they're not magicians. They're so obsessed with money and sex that that's all their mind is on, and money and getting laid. That's all they think about. They don't think about when they hear a great record, say After the Love Is Gone by Earth, Wind and Fire. They don't say, what an incredible song, what an incredible arrangement, listen to the horn arrangement, listen to the singing, listen to the key changes, listen to the arranging. These guys were geniuses in musical terms. They think, will we get the playlist? Yeah. Will we make money?
I think there's
no magic. There's no magic. So the sound thing is the difference between vinyl and CD and a cold mentality making the record.
I think there is a difference. Obviously, when you're playing music, you can either play it or feel it, and the feeling of the music is probably the magic that what you talk about. But I think Mick was referring to the actual frequency. Do you remember, Gordon, when we were talking there the other day, we were saying that the frequency that we had guests on about changing the recording frequency to 432 rather than 444 or 448, because this was changed. Apparently, do you remember the conversation you had? Because I wasn't on that interview with Stella.
Yeah, I can only relate it to guitar tuners. When you plug a guitar in, it's got a little needle, and there's a number there, and it says 4 whatever it says. Now, as a musician, an old timer like me, I didn't pay much attention to it. So what you're talking about is, I don't know what you're talking about, but I totally believe it, because science, German scientists have got a big history about manipulating the human spirit, going back to I.G. Ferber, who was the guy that made the gas for the camps. I.G. Ferben.
I don't know. Yeah.
Anyway, they're still part of the banking industry. They're very present today, and they've always put a lot of money in science. They're putting money into science under the guise of academic. So you'll get a professor like at this Imperial College or Stanford University in America, or any of the foundations, the Ford Foundation, the Carnegie Foundation. They're all funded by the banking families. So a young scientist that has big plans for himself, he wants to be a pop star, only in his world. So he gets this wonderful grant from Mr. Rockefeller, who says, look, we'll give you a grant of $6 million to do this project on microchips in people's arms to, do your research. And you're a clever man. You're a scientist. We don't know anything about science. We're second-hand car dealers. We got lucky. And that's how it happens. So anybody that wants to manipulate children, and they all do, will have developed something within the sound vibration, if there is such a thing. I don't know. I can't comment in that. That's one thing I haven't looked into. There's so much to look into that you can get bogged down with the detail if you're not careful. You can spend 7 days a week frightening yourself about this stuff. And what I suggest is you keep something for yourself, and that is you do not be afraid about these people. These people are idiots. These people are idiots. They think they can buy their way into the universities, which they have. They can bribe professors to write a report about anything. The professor's got a wife and family. He wants his $200,000 a year. He'll say anything. He'll alter the report. He'll say that GM foods are okay. If the guy that's paying him will say, well, if you don't say it, we're going to withdraw your grant. That's how it works. So, sure, with the sound thing, you've only got to get a bunch of bent scientists, of which there's countless. A bent scientist will write anything, and he'll do anything. And he'll tell the cutting engineer to cut the record in that time that you talked about. I'm sure you're right.
And one of the things that you mentioned earlier, if you want to talk about, Gordon, the fact that they will, if you do get into the music business, they want to find something on you because they can obviously control you.
Well, lots of people want fame so much that they don't care about being controlled. They want. I mean, some of these stupid. I mean, I think they're all stupid. I think that all pop stars and rock stars, if they're artists, they would speak up. An artist never ever hides the truth from the public. An artist's job is to enlighten the world. That's what an artist does best. Enlighten the world. If you then decide to play the game, which I saw Bob Dylan admitting to only yesterday, saying, you know, I'm keeping my end up with the people I made a deal with in the beginning, that ceases his entire legitimacy as an artist. If he said, well, look, I was approached in 1965 by a certain bunch of people that we were going to play a game with people's minds, and the CIA were going to put 25 million into the LSD market, he'd be an artist, but he doesn't. And that's where the entire music industry has become a classic case of show business. Show business is fake, run by fakes, for fakes, and when people try to be real, like John Lennon, they get shot.
Now, talking about John Lennon, I mean, he had that famous sit-in over the weekend, over 3 days, where, you know, make love, not war, and obviously Mark Chapman was the guy who killed him. They had the movie out about him as well. And the quote that John Lennon was famous for, apparently, is that he was more popular than Jesus. And obviously, that upset a lot of people, and he probably was. But obviously, they say Mark Chapman was an MK Ultra mind control person.
Sure he was.
Yeah. I mean, have you heard anything about that in your background?
Yeah. That quote about Jesus is just bollocks. It's just typical National Enquirer stuff taken out of context. And anyway, it wouldn't upset a normal person with character because, you know, if you like Jesus, you like Jesus, and that's good, you know. You like John. I like Jesus, and I like John Lennon.
Yeah.
I don't mind what John says about Jesus. He is more popular than Jesus because Jesus gets a lot of bad press these days from the creeps at the BBC who want to do away with all that because they're Satanists. So I know what's going on. So I like John Lennon and I like Jesus. It doesn't affect me because I know my own mind.
Yeah.
I think for myself. I don't listen to a bloody stupid headline like he was more popular than Jesus and get upset. I get upset when somebody starts inventing a microchip for fat people. That's when I get upset. And I advise everybody else to do the same. Because that's what's going on. They're having you on. But don't be afraid of them, because they're Burks. They're total flipping Burks. They're not clever. They love money. They love money so much. They cannot bear to be without money. Now, I'm taking a course at the moment, a serious university course, and I recommend it to everybody. And it's a course that I've invented, and it's called Be a Hobo. And you can get a degree for it from me. I'll give you a degree as a hobo, and you'll have no fixed address, no mobile phone, they don't pay tax, and you'll be your own man. There is food, you know. The thing on this island is that people are growing their own food. The main things in life are a roof over your head, food, and love. Those three things. Money, it may be desperate with bills, and I've been there. I'm still there. I have to worry every day about money. But it's, when the chips are down, we can pick an apple off the tree. We can get some tomatoes together. We will survive, but we will not lose our character. We will not lose our will, and we will not lose our integrity. And too many people want to trade all those good things which they're born with, which is what how wonderful you are means, that you're born with this wonderful power inside you. They'll trade it to be famous. Famous with who? Nobody cares when you're famous, believe me. I've been famous. And they can't wait for you to be pumping gas. I've been there too in the 70s, you know. Oh, didn't you used to be with King Crimson? I was covered in bloody concrete. It didn't matter to me, because I was my own man. And I lived to fight another day, and I carried on. You know what people are like. They love to see a guy that's down. Yeah. But laugh at them. Laugh at them. Keep your character. Be brave. Don't be afraid of these goons. They're pathetic. Don't pay your taxes. It's illegal. Don't pay your mortgage. You know, become a hobo. It's a great life.
That's an interesting take on you know, moving away from the system. All right. Now we have about 15 minutes, Gordon. So we're going to try and focus on the positives. But Steve, you have a question there?
Yeah, just as one more question that came in, Gordon, about I think it's a band called Crass. Do you know the band, and what were your thoughts on them?
Well, I'd love to say I know them, but that's not to say that they're not great. It's just that I've lost interest. I do not follow the music business as I should. So no, I don't know them. But what about them?
No, someone was just wondering if you knew them, because obviously you were obviously in the music game. Seemingly they were a punk band. They were active from 1977 to 1984. Obviously they were just wondering if you had crossed paths with them.
No, I haven't. Not knowingly. I've had very few conversations with punk bands. I met Rat Scabies once at a gig in London, and he was having a laugh. I mean, the punk thing to me was perfect for Thatcherism, because it was entrepreneurial. It was make your own records, press up your own records, and but it kind of desensitized a lot of kids, in my view. I hope they could, I mean, maybe they could write to me and explain why it doesn't desensitize. I feel in my heart that it was a Tavistock designed Sex Pistols thing. You know, it was a design to alter kids at that time into nihilism. If they can show me that they were genuine, writing about serious issues that they knew about that are real, Great. I haven't got a closed mind on it. It's just my impression that it desensitized people. It made them tougher. And I don't think that's the way to make people crueler. That's a Nazi way or a Marxist way. You make people cruel so that when you see... I've been to Auschwitz where they killed 6 million people. And they always like to say 6 million Jews. But it was people. It was ordinary people without a Jewish religion as well. You know, it wasn't just Jews. It was millions of people. Anybody that can stand there and sentence people to death because they're tough and don't feel anything, have no human empathy. It worries me when a punk band comes across and they don't seem to transmit a friendliness to somebody like me. They're hostile. Now, if they can show me that they're not hostile to me, I'll think again, I'll be educated. But I think it was a psychological trip dreamed up by the Tavistock to alienate the next generation. They work in generations, these people. They say they can change society within one generation. And it is true to a certain extent. Unless you keep your feet on the ground and say, look, I know what you're doing to me. I know how you're manipulating me. I'm just playing a game. And we're a punk band because we want to get on. And that's the market thing. Well, that's okay. As long as you own up. Because if you don't own up, you're not an artist.
I've got a question for you on you talked about changing, generations. And if you look back at, just this a little bit here. There you go. How's that, Steve?
Sorry, go ahead. No, just you.
Yeah, just the volume was a little bit high. If you go back and have a look at the music, in the 50s we had the rock and roll, 50s and the 60s, and then we had the mods and the rockers were still there, and then we had the Beatles came in, then we had Flower Power in the 70s, and then in the 80s you had a certain style of dress for the music, new wave, new romantics and stuff, and you could tell a person's interest in the music. But when you got into the 90s and then the noughties, there's no kind of defining music that a person is into. There's no fashion. I haven't seen any, when you were...
That's true. I never thought that you're spot on.
When you rock and roll, you wore your rock and roll gear. When you were mod, you wear your mod gear. In the 80s, you were new romantic and you dressed new romantic and, you know what I mean, Adam? But now in the 90s, and the noughties, there's no kind of musical fashion. There's no kind of musical trend, Well,
you have to look at the manifestos of certain isms. The manifesto of Marxism is to destroy a country's culture. What's culture? Well, it's music and art to some degree. And so if you can destroy the interest amongst a generation, my son is 21, not the slightest bit interested in music. And it's terrible. You can't reach him. He's got his expensive computer, he's got all the toys and his iPods and his crap that they sell them. But I know that he's not the slightest bit interested in music, and that's what you're talking about. They are not interested. Why are they not interested? Because they've been programmed not to be interested. That's the end of it.
I agree with you. My son's the same. My son's obviously a lot younger than your son, but he has, at this moment in time, no interest in music or instruments. And, the opportunities are there for him to get involved, but he just has no interest. And yes, he does have an Xbox, because at the end of the day, you have to kind of, I like having a peaceful life, for a lot of reasons. I'm sure Steve is the same. But I do try and limit the amount of exposure he has on that, because it's just not good for him,
But the tragedy to me is this whole paradigm of Marxism, fascism. If kids weren't so gullible, they would realise that it's the same bloody people. filling their heads with some stupid Saul Alinsky baloney, or on the other side, Hitler's way. It's all the same. It's about brutality, beating people to death, and who wants anyism? You know, you can stick Marxism and fascism up your jacksie, as far as I'm concerned. It's all shallow academic baloney, written by out-of-work professors, financed by bankers. And once you know that, why would you want to read their work? They're useless. They're absolutely of no use to the human race whatsoever. No Marxist philosophy is of any good to humanity. No fascist philosophy is any good. And yet the universities are full of them. Now, you close the universities and do away with universities, you'd be a lot better off. You'd have guys that could mend your car. You'd have guys that could make great things with wood. You'd have great skills. You'd have great art. You'd have great music. We don't need these academic clowns to tell us how to live.
Well, that's what happens. We always say the difference between education and indoctrination. And we do feel that these people are... Now, I'm not going to have a go at education in itself. But what I have seen in my own business, you have academics hiring academics because people will hire people that are similar to them. Okay? And this is like a proven point. But the problem is that a lot of these academics that work in the corporate world, which I've worked in and I've come across, they either have a very specific skill set, but they tend to have a level of arrogance, or they just, they have a level of arrogance. They don't seem to have personality. Now, I know I'm generalising, and there's people out there that do, but also what happens is that a lot of them can't do the job. You know, I've come across guys that have, a degree and qualifications down their arm, and you put them into a situation where it's not what the textbook says, and they're completely lost. Their ability to think outside the box and to actually think about sorting the problem out and be logical, if it's not in the book, they're stuffed.
They can't tell us what to do anymore. They can't teach us anything. They have had endless economists, the London School of Economy. When you dig into it, it's part of a political force. And if they want to destroy a society, they just put the switch on. Okay, universities, destroy the society. We don't need institutions like that. We don't. It's of no use to mankind whatsoever. And I advise any student that owes money to the state to say, it's fraud. You've taught me lies. You've wasted my life under, there must be a fraud act that you promised to educate me. And in actual fact, you've taken my money and you've fed my mind with a load of old crap that is worthless, and I want to sue you for 3 years lost or 5 years lost wages on a building site, because on a building site I would have learned how to concrete, I would have learned how to build a house, and that would have been of use to me and my family, and I want to sue you. I want to sue your arse off. I do not owe you 30,000. I owe you nothing.
No, I told you.
We've got to stand up to them because they're not bright. We haven't got anything. They've got nothing they can take away except our freedom, and don't let them take our freedom, and don't pay them. Just to hell with them. These kids, I know kids that are in their 30s still owe money to the bloody con artists, the Tony Blair. To hell with them. Who the hell do they think they are?
So they bring in the education system, they get you into debt, they brainwash you with all the crap, because, again, if you were to go to even a dentist, I actually went to, last year now, my son went to a dentist, and I happened to mention fluoride, and straight away, the defence was up there, fluoride's good for your teeth, and this is the indoctrination that they get from the system. And
I'm sure they believe it. You know, they're so
yes,
from the neck up. They believe everything they've been fed.
yeah, and you don't, you know, and this is why when somebody, you know, we talk about the whole waking up process, and if somebody says, I don't know enough about that, so I can't really comment, that's a sign that that person has intelligence. It is an actual sign of intelligence, because they don't mind admitting, showing a weakness, saying I don't know. Where people who do are lack the confidence in their intellect will cover up by saying, oh, that's a load of crap, when they actually don't know anything about it, but they'll say that anyway because they just don't want to show that it's a weakness. They don't show that weakness. But that's the kind of psychology behind that. But I'll tell you, Gordon, we've reached that time in the evening, and it's been a brilliant interview about, you know, the music business and everything that we talked about. But I would just like to say thanks a lot for coming on.
It didn't even seem like an interview. It seemed like just
having a chat.
A nice chat. I'd love to do it again.
Yeah, having a chat, you know, and catching up on what's going on. But I'm going to pass you over to Steve, Gordon, and Gordon, Steve's going to get all your details and everything about you there. And again, once again, thanks for coming on. Over to you, Steve.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I've had it's been. I know I haven't said much bar the questions, but it's been great, Gordon. It's just like. Listen to a couple of lads having a banter over a couple of points. Only we've no alcohol here. But yeah, if people want to
change that.
Oh, we could if we had some money, we'd change that. We probably wouldn't. But I've been looking at your website. It's quite interesting. There's lots of information on it. But Gordon, how can people find out more information about you? And can you give us the website there? And I'm not sure if you have a YouTube channel, but how can people find out more?
I have to admit, I'll give you all those things. It's gordonhaskell.com for the website. I haven't updated it since 2011. I can't get into it because a German guy took £1,000 off me and didn't give me the key, so I can't get into it, so I can't change it. But I can't give a toss either. I'm sick of it. So that's that. But you can probably email me. There's an email on there. I'm willing to talk. I'm willing to answer questions. I'm willing to be challenged. I'm willing to fight. I'm ready. I mean, I might even come back and do more, you know, not in the music, but I don't know what is on the cards. So the more the merrier. The more I mean, by people writing to me, they might actually educate me. You know, I'm still humble. I know what I know, and I'm still willing to learn. So you got something to say to me, you say it, you know, and I'll come back to you.
That's fair. No, do you know what, actually, you actually sound like my father. My father, Gordon, he's 71 years of age. He's recently learned about computers, and he's actually opened his mind as well, and he's starting to go down and learn more information of how the world actually works, because he's just genuinely interested, and you've just reminded me of him there, so... No, fair play. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about learning.
It's a nightmare, you know, this information thing.
Yeah.
But I'm glad it's there. I feel more informed. But I think you just have to be careful that you don't drive the people around you that you love nuts. That's the first thing. So you've got to balance it. Keep the information stored in your head, because, you know, tomorrow I'm going to draw some money out of the bank. I've only got about $5,000, but it's $5,000 and I don't want it stolen. So if I didn't know about what's going on, I'd probably leave it there and I might lose it, mightn't I? So that's information to me. That's how much I've got, you know. I've got $5,000.
Thanks for sharing that.
I'm going to take it out and keep it in my pocket next to me Willie, because nobody ever touches that these days.
Very good. I like that. You could have a hanging out though. Have a hanging out in your pocket. You might have somebody making an attempt there, you know. You get the right people.
Oh, touch Gordon Haskell's. Oh, please.
Oh, my God. Well, that's brilliant. Thanks a lot for coming on, Liz. We're going to go off to a musical break.
You keep up the good work, you boys.
We will. Just stay with us there for a minute, Gordon. We're just going to go off to this musical break. We'll be back after this.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMIreland.com, CNSradio.me.com, and ICRadioNetwork.com.
Okie dokie, and we're back. That was a little bit of Gary Moore. And Gary Moore has still got the blues. I'm sorry to hear that, Gary. Maybe he needs to change profession.
Well, he's up in heaven now, because Gary died.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Sorry to hear that, Gary.
So
Wow. When did he die? Recently?
Oh, yeah, last year he died, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he passed away, which is a pity because he's such a talented musician. I love his music, great music. So there you go. So that was Gordon Haskell, ex-member of King Crimson. Very interesting interview we had with Gordon about the music business and the things that are going on there. So if you have any kids or any people who are budding musicians or singers, just kind of give them a heads up, give them a warning, because there are sharks in the music business like any other business, and they just see it as a business.
Exactly. That's exactly what you said. It's a business. It is a business, and like every other business, they have a bottom line. I was involved in the music business in my younger days, and it was an emotional roller coaster. Yeah. I remember you had to fake your death back in '77, didn't you?
Didn't work. Nobody cared. It was an emotional roller coaster, and basically, one day you're up, one day you're down because you're supposed to be supporting this band and it's not coming off. And it was just I got fed up with it. I really, really did. And it was just you really want to have a hard skin and accept disappointment, because these people are out. We've even had people trying to rip off our music at one time, a record company. But that's a long story. But there you go. So Gordon Haskell, pop over to Gordon Haskell's website, gordonhaskell.com, or pop along to YouTube and type Gordon Haskell's name in. You'll actually see him on the Top the Pops 2001 performing the song that we played earlier. Very good song. And I'm sure we'll probably aim to try and get somebody on. I'll get him on again. One thing I forgot to mention about the attack the tax thing at the start of the show was we're trying to explain to people that the government are like the bully in the playground, and as long as you keep giving the lunch money to the bully, they'll keep taking it. And in 5 years' time, it won't be £100 or £200 for the year. It'll be £1,200, because this is what happened in the UK to the council tax. They made loads of promises and loads of lies. They lie. Oh, we won't put the council tax up. This is what it's going to be. And before you know it, you're paying £1,200 after a few years. So, we have to put a stop to this. And we went to attack the tax, and we joined up, and we just see what happens. Let's see where it takes it. Let's see what happens with being a shareholder and what happens to the system. I mean, next year, if the vote is up, that we're going to look for a new government, well then that's the chance that we can make a change, as long as it's not rigged in some way.
I'm sure we've no proof that it's not rigged either. I
exactly.
mean, even the recent by-election vote there in County Meath, as we did say earlier, Helen McEntee got the seat. And was it the sympathy vote because her father was there before, or did she get it on her own merit because she has a strong voice? I don't know, but I do know, as one of the other politicians said, just because somebody has a strong voice doesn't mean they should be a politician. Maybe if you have a strong voice, you might be better suited to X Factor or something like that. But I mean, is it rigged? I don't know. I know there was kind of a little bit of controversy there around the financial treaty, or whatever the hell that was called. And it was rigged, lads. Okay, Mick. Well, it was rigged. Mick says it was rigged. Okay, thanks for that, Mick.
No.
Yeah, Mick is the insider. Mick is our OYM roving reporter.
Well, I just, I mean, this is my own personal opinion, but, surely the people can see the way the country is going.
Yeah.
And, if you vote one way and it doesn't work, surely you go and try and vote another way. You don't carry on doing the same vote, because that's just what, that's like, I think it was Einstein that said it, doing the same thing and hoping for a different result. I mean, it doesn't work, So you have to kind of, try another party, but I don't know. I really don't know. We'll see how things go. Right, next week, as I say, sorry about Max Egon not being on the show tonight, but Max is on a different time zone, so we're going to try and do a pre-record, organise with Max and get him on as a pre-record, so it'll be pretty good. Next week, we have Miles Johnston on again. This is part 2, because when Miles came on the first time, people were saying, when is part 2? Get him on again, we want the part 2. So, through popular demand, we have asked Miles to come back on the show. Part 2 is next week. I'm going to carry on where hopefully we left off and go into more details. So that should be a good show. And as I say, we'll sort out Max another time. You got anything planned this week, Steve?
Have I got anything planned? Pretty much more of the same, Groundhog Day and all that. So it'll probably it's a bank holiday or a public holiday, whatever. Every day is a bank holiday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bail out the bankers. Yeah, every day is a bank holiday for the bankers anyway. It's a public holiday here tomorrow, so I'll probably do a little spot of visiting. So yeah, that'll be kind of a bit of a change to the norm, and then back to work, back to the grindstone on Tuesday, and just. Back to Groundhog Day on Tuesday.
Yeah, I was going to say that, back to Groundhog Day. Just remember, guys, that you can still get your bumper stickers. If you can donate, that would be brilliant if you can do that. If you can't, just click on the ads. If there's any ads on the website that you like, click on them. And any information that you come across, email in. We'll have a look at that and try and get it out through our mass mailing list. You have to register for as well if you can do that. But for myself, anyway, have a good evening, have a good weekend, enjoy it before we go back to the grindstone on Tuesday, and take it easy and stay safe and keep getting the word out there, keep waking the people up as much as we can. For myself, Alan James, good night.
And that's about all you're going to say on that. Right. Okay, yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet. Stay, if you're listening on TNS, stay tuned for Vin. If you're listening on UWS or if you're listening on the OYM stream and you want more entertainment, more like-minded people, just head over to tnsradio.ning.com and listen to the sultry sound of Vin. The Masters ceremony's there from 9 p.m. Okay, we'll do it all again next week. For myself, Steve and George, take care. Bye-bye.